Hey there, how you doing? You like how I can do that? It's a left brain, right brain thing. Can you hear me okay? I just left Bredenbury on Highway 16, Yellowhead. The Yellowhead. I don't think they were being racist when they made that up. But there are Mennonites in Bredenbury. Bredenbury? Bread and butter? The Mennonites are there. Oh, I don't mind the Mennonites. Not too much. Pretty sure they were involved in the Indian residential school as well, though. Bredenbury. Is that English? Breckenridge. I remember this kid, his name was Breckenridge. I went to school with him. Ages and ages ago, it seems I was just a young boy. About 9 years old. Breckenridge was his name. He was a good kid. But he didn't want to play with me. I don't know what I did. I can't remember that far back on my own behavior, but I liked him. He was a drummer. He had the rhythm. I was tapping away on his desk one day and I was like, hey, that sounds pretty good. Oh yeah, I got a set of drums at home. I explained to him that my uncles were in a band and my pa plays guitar and I want to learn drums. Oh, you should come by sometime, he says. Sure. How about Saturday? Okay. Well, Saturday came and went. He gave me his address and all, and I knocked on that door and nobody answered. There's nobody home. It was this old house. It just seemed like about 100 years old. We lived in a small town. They had a few old houses there. And Monday morning, I went up to him and I said, Breckenridge. I knocked on that door. There was nobody answering. Nobody was home, I guess. I looked in the window. You can't live there because that place looks old. Like old people live in there. The furniture in there was about as old as the house. It's like a museum. Look at all them cows. Anyways, I was there. I was probably in the basement playing. No, I didn't hear no playing. Oh, we must have went out. We must have went out somewhere. I still didn't catch on yet. Okay, well, how about later on in the week? Sure, stop by. Wednesday came and went. Knocked on that door. Nobody's home. Didn't look like anything moved inside the house. Thursday morning, Breckenridge, what happened? Well, I was there. Where were you? It's the right address, right? You give me and I told him the address. Yeah, that's the address. It's the brown and red house, right? It's really old looking. Yeah, that's the house. Still didn't catch on. So I said, how about Saturday? Okay. Went down there on Saturday morning. Hot, sunny morning. Even as I was walking into town, the sun was getting hotter and hotter. I And you could smell the humidity rising. Oh, the air was fresh back then. The sun was shining, the light was reflecting off the buildings. You could almost see inside some of those old buildings there since the beginning of the town when it was first incorporated. You walk past those parks, you look down at the ground and you can see the grass, green and fresh. Got to Breckenridge's house, nobody was home. So Monday morning, came and went. There it says, welcome to Bredenbury. Church Bridge in 13. I didn't even talk to Breckenridge. I didn't even ask him. I didn't even talk to him that whole morning. I finally caught on. I've been through this before. It wasn't me. A couple of years before that, I was trying to make friends with this other kid. His name was Paul. Paul. Nice Catholic name. Hang on a second. We're going over a bridge here. I gotta slow her down. Slow her down. Not a bridge, a rail crossing. You don't want to be flying over these rail crossings in a day cab. No, sir, you don't. See? See what happens? That's how you take that. There's nobody around. There's a truck coming. He ain't slowing down. Anyways, Paul. I was trying to make friends with this guy, Paul. I was at this school, McCrae School, on Redwood in Winnipeg. A new kid there. Paul was a nice kid. I look back now and I think this was all a setup. But, I don't know. The gym teacher, he makes us do laps around the gym. And he blows his whistle, like usual. We all come running into the circle, sit down, except Paul. Paul, he keeps running. He ignores the whistle. And the gym teacher, he blows his whistle a couple more times. Paul doesn't come over. And the gym teacher uses Paul as an example. Now Paul's got bleach blonde hair, deep blue eyes, fair skin. We're just kids, mind you. But Paul was one of those athletic types. Oh, all the girls loved him. Well, again, we were just kids. You know, when you're in grade 3, you have these crushes. Well, the gym teacher used Paul as an example. He said, see, now that there's a good example of, I don't know what he was saying. I'll make the words up. Strength, endurance, perseverance, character. All the things that we weren't. Because we came running in on the first whistle. I think it was a setup now. I look back, I think, this is a setup. Anyways, it's something, an unforgettable moment. It was a lesson I'll never forget. Well, I got up. I was going to run. No, Daniel. No, you sit down. You sit down. It's too late. It's too late. You sit down, Daniel. If you want to be like Paul, you should have kept running. You're never going to be like Paul. Sit down, Daniel. So I sat back down, all disappointed. I was never going to be like Paul. I don't even know if his name was Paul. could be making this up. Anyways, he goes on and on, putting us all down, making us feel bad about ourselves, breaking our spirit, tearing down our character. I think I was 8 years old. 8. Have you seen an 8-year-old? They're pretty small. They're still but children. They're just children. It's a 2-lane highway, so you don't have to look to the right too much, but I don't know, some of these cowboys, they don't care which lane they pass you in. Some of them. Anyways. Oh, I wanted to be like Paul. I wished, but I was never going to be like Paul at McRae School. Paul, he was shy, quiet type. I don't know. He didn't talk much. He did really well with his grades. Ignored a lot of folk. Trucks going by waving. I don't mind. Anyways, I kept my eye on Paul. I wanted to be like him, so I tried to do what he did. I wasn't too good with spelling. I tried. But we just moved in to a different school. We were at William White the year before. I just wanted to try McRae School because my other friend told me you should come to McRae School. It was the worst mistake I ever made. It was one of the worst experiences I had with public education. It was awful. I had no friends. Nobody wanted to talk to me. The speed limit is telling me to slow down to 80. I'm going to use a little bit of engine brake to do that because Church Bridge wants me to slow down, and we will respect the Church Bridge. I hope the Church Bridge people respect Winnipeg, where I live, and slow down when they come into our town. Maybe I'm going to set my speed limit so as to not overextend my speed. Church Bridge is a fine town. I'd show it to you, but I'd have to put my hand on a handheld device. We're not allowed to do that. Try not to, anyways. Anyways, Paul was a nice kid. I think he was Polish. I can't be sure. Pretty sure. But I tried talking to Paul, tried to relate to him. It wasn't going to happen. Speed limit is still 60 here. It's going up to 80 now. There's the Fast Gas Plus. Church Bridge, home of the NHLers. Lionel Heinrich and Kevin Kaminski or something. Alright, let's get the show on the road and talk about Paul. Anyways, he fluffed me off. I was wondering, what do you gotta do? What do you gotta do to make friends in this town? Holy jeez. I got nobody. I got no one. Oh, and the girls didn't like me. Oh, Paula, jeez. Couldn't get Paula's attention for nothing. There was always a Paula and a Paul. Paul was a setup. That gym teacher was Ukrainian. He taught Ukrainian language in the school because Ukrainian people they were a pretty healthy population, and they wanted to get some attention from the politicians. So the politicians said, "Okay, we're going to let you teach your language in school." So I wasn't Ukrainian, but I was forced to learn Ukrainian. Anyways, I think he wanted to use that as a kind of a white supremacy example of how white people are superior in every way. They'll even defy authority to over-exceed their talent in the face of authority. I remember that old Ukrainian guy. He taught at Inkster School as well. Inkster School was another terrible education experience that I had. Awful. But there were kids like that. And in this country, people aren't aware of this, but when the Ukrainians and the Polish and the Czechoslovakians and all the other Eastern European people came to Canada, they were taught that native people, us natives, Indians they called us back then, were an inferior race of people, and you don't want to talk to them. They're barely human. You can't even teach them. That's what the teachers were told. And they were born and raised in that kind of a public education system. And so when I went to school in the 70s, those parents were very protective of their children and told them, don't talk to those native people. Those are bad people. Oh, they like to drink. They're dirty. You should have seen in the last pandemic, they were just dying like crazy, falling down like flies. They must never wash their hands, those people. They must never take baths because they were just suffering and dying in the last pandemic. That's what they were saying. We're the ones who taught them how to take a bath. They never took a bath until they met us. Man, people don't understand their own history. You don't know where you come from, so you know where to stand. You know where you stand. I know where you came from. You're not as good as you think you are. But not everybody's like that. You know, Karl Marx said that every population has to have a reserve workforce. And what he meant by that was you had to not employ a certain group. So that even happens in the English system of capitalism. So there was a certain segment of English people, usually Scottish and Irish, who were the reserve workforce. You had to keep them, you had to hold them back because you couldn't fully employ 100% of the workforce. So the only way to keep them back and keep them down is to oppress them. And that's why not every English person was racist, was taught to be racist, was taught those stereotypes. They were humble people, and they were made humble by their own system of capitalism. Their own people oppressed them. And they were janitors, and they would sweep and mop floors and clean toilets. And they would supervise sometimes the Ukrainian and Polish people. If you want to know more about that, you got to read Vertical Mosaic by John Porter, one of the first sociology. I think it started sociology in Canada. But anyways, he talked about that. He talked about how certain ethnic groups occupied certain segments of the workforce. And Polish and Ukrainian people came here to farm all this land that you see around. You don't see it, but I see it. I showed you a little bit with my shaky camera. But anyways, certain segments of the Ukrainian population were held back by their own Ukrainian people. These are not decisions made unanimously by the Ukrainian people. Every population has an elite group, a group of wealthy, rich people who had business, and leaders and church leaders who advocated for their own community. But they had to make compromises and sacrifices. There's nobody behind me. And that's why in every ethnic group there's always going to be a poor population. Not everybody is white enough in a racist capitalist system. Coming up to another town here. Langenberg. Wish you could see this one. I already know they're going to reduce the speed. There it is. There's the sign. Got to slow things down here. Langenberg is a fine town. But can you hear the ethnicity in the name? Langenberg? Langenberg. It's got to be German. So when the English, they were dividing up this land for everyone, they gave themselves the best land. And then using that vertical mosaic, you'd have to start from England, France, and head east. The land was given, the best land was given based on your ethnicity heading east throughout Europe. The Ukrainians got the worst land. I'm telling you that right now. Langenberg, here we are. Water tower over there. Speed limit's 50. I'm even going to use my cruise control to show some respect to the folks of Langenberg. There's an old-timey man riding his bicycle. Ride your bicycle, old-timey. Let light shine into darkness, it says. Let light shine into darkness. Yes. Let us do that. The wealthy and powerful elite Germans. I don't know the history of Langenberg, but I'm assuming, because this is the same story told over and over again in every town, in every district in Canada, in every province. They negotiated with the English. And they were given in the negotiation what they were given, and now you got the town of Langenberg. Alright, speed is increasing to 70. There's some fine folk over there eating at the Prairie Lily Cafe. Yes sir, 24 minutes here. Telling you some stories. Next stop is Russell, Manitoba. 31 kilometers. We won't make it that far. I'm going to shut this down soon. There's a fine house. I want that house. It's old, but it's pretty. I'll tell you, Canada has some beautiful towns. Very characteristic, culturally diverse, ethnically diverse. The problem is we got that racism here. So as long as you can pass for white, you're all right. If you can pass for white, you're all right. And so the Ukrainians do, the Polish do. But you dig underneath that surface and they're not white enough. No. It'll never happen. You negotiated what you negotiated, and that's all you're going to get. All right. Hope I didn't offend anybody with that, but just telling you the truth. John Porter, Critical Mosaic, Howard Palmer, Patterns of Prejudice, Nativism in Alberta. Those are the two books you want to read. There's other books. You can read Karl Marx, Capitalism. It's a hell of a read. You're going to need some prerequisite books to read in order to understand that. You're going to want to learn. You're going to want to have taken an introduction to sociology courses, social studies, all of that stuff. Not social studies. I beg your pardon. I meant social psychology. You got to go to university for this to know this stuff. They're never going to teach this in public education. You will never learn this stuff in any grade 9, 10, 11, 12 history book. They want to plant in your mind that there's this whole other story, and you can believe it if you want. It's a complete farce. But the reason why I tell you this stuff while I'm trucking is because I see it all around me. I could see the symbols. I could see the story because I've read the history books, I've read the books, I've taken the courses. And I just want to help you to understand what it's like to be me and other people like me in Canada. It's not always what you think. And there's a whole bunch of people that came from India, Pakistan, China, Philippines, I wish I knew more of them, but they're shy people. I say hi to them from time to time, but that's about as good as it gets. We need to make friends around this neighborhood. We got to somehow break down those barriers and know why we're all here in Canada. You know, when you came here, you were promised an opportunity, and you were given an opportunity. It wasn't the best that you could get, but it was better than where you came from. And we're treated pretty badly down here as Aboriginal people, First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. This is our land. You're here because we said you could be here. We negotiated treaty. We're not a conquered people. So, just want to tell you that story. Help you out a little bit. It's for your benefit so that you can learn who you are, because they lied to you and they're using you. If you're not aware of that, all these nice towns like Russell Russell. That's not German, is it? It's not Italian. Russell, Manitoba. Could that be English? I remember this girl back in the days when I was having crushes. That's what she did. I never forgot that. I tell you, the fire, it burned fierce. War Chief, over and out.